Alright, we're rolling.
This is where the music plays.
I guess. We were using that song?
Yeah, I thought we decided on that.
Is that free play? Is that
It's something I've made.
Oh, okay.
It's music, so
Okay.
if anyone comes and tries to get us for copyright infringement, we'll just have to because you got the creator. The guy who created it.
Sort of. You gotta have my guitar. Or whatever. Hi, everybody. This is Simon.
This is Brandon.
And this is Greg.
And what we're doing is a podcast type show.
Yeah, we're trying to do this new thing where we do have an entertainment-based podcast that we record that's all about entertainment and popular culture, recorded in LA, and there's no one, to my knowledge, is doing this right now.
Right.
We have our ear to the streets.
Well, not even. We have our ear to the future because there is nobody that I know of or that anyone knows of that is doing an entertainment-based podcast ever.
That is true.
This is the first ever.
You're just making me feel so shitty.
Podcasts are never about entertainment. They're always about a varying degree of topics and categories. But one about news and popular culture, I feel like, is groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys agree?
No. But what we have that others don't have is
no production
structurelessness.
No production values.
no production value. Nothing, planned really.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a name?
I guess we should have thought of that. I don't think we do.
The Simon and Brandon and Greg sometimes, hopefully. Show.
SBG, SGB, BSG. It's always good to just BGS.
BGS?
BGS, yeah. It's always good to, if you can't think of anything, just,
Spell out your alma mater?
Well, yeah. We'll spell out, yeah. We just need someone named, like, Yuri, so that it could just be BGSYou podcast.
That's the only you name. Yuri?
I can't think of another U name.
Eugene?
Ursula.
That begins with a E, actually.
Yes.
Well, you could do it all hip. It'd be like Eugene.
That would be that would be like his name.
Hugh-Gene.
No one specifically names their kid Hugh-Gene, though. So it would have to be three people with real names and one person with a stage name, which would screw everything up.
Why don't we just all make stage names and then we can spell whatever we
want.
with our initials?
We just make sure that our stage names, though, are the same letters as our first names.
With the exception of our buddy Eugene, who's going to switch it up.
Well, no. Well, yeah. Well, I guess I could be B. Randon, and that could just be our thing.
Yeah.
Everyone makes their name one more syllable. Or
Simon.
Simon. Yeah, the Simon. Greg is just Greg.
Or Gerg.
G-Reg.
We
do Gerg.
He's a G, but he's regular, so he's G-Reg.
He's a G-Reg, yeah. G-regular.
So, I guess we should get started.
Uh-huh.
And our first topic for today is Jurassic Park 4, which was greenlit last week.
Yeah, there has been no plans to make another Jurassic Park film the past 10 years.
You can't just be sarcastic all the time.
I haven't heard any plans for other Jurassic Park movies every week. So I think it's good to talk about this movie that will most likely not get made.
It's going to get made the same way Ghostbusters 3 is going to get made.
Right.
And like Bill and Ted 3.
Right, exactly.
Right.
What I thought, weren't they actually shooting the other Ghostbusters movie, and then everyone forgot
kept
about it?
getting blocked by Bill Murray. That was the rumors that everyone was going to Bill Murray and being like, please, and he's just like, ha ha ha, no, and
yeah,
that was what I heard. But
yeah, so basically, Sam Neill is going to be the Bill Murray of Jurassic Park 4, hopefully.
Well, what I was hearing was they aren't sure yet if it's going to be a direct sequel or if it's going to be a reboot.
So then it wouldn't be Jurassic Park 4, it'd just be Jurassic Park 1, 2.
Right.
One dash
Jurassic
2.
Park sans Sam Neill.
Jurassic Park Origins.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of people digging around for Amber.
Yeah, it's all just the opening sequence of Jurassic Park, but it's just like a 3-hour movie about just digging around for the mosquito Amber thing.
it ends with the Australian guy like putting the hat on and becoming the iconic Australian guy.
The clever girl guy.
Yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah, what was his character's name? I can't remember, but who cares?
It might have been like Eugene or Evgeny.
It was probably Eugene. Very likely it was Eugene.
It's a very Australian name.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't trust this happening.
Yeah, they got the guy who...
I've never trusted... Well, the thing with Jurassic Park, though, is that there's no real stars attached to it that are so iconic that you can't do the movie without.
I mean, there were when it started.
Not really.
But Jeff Goldblum just kind of fell off.
Well, the thing with the first Jurassic Park movie is it had, a few actors who were, known actors, but for the most part, none of them were like, oh my god, we cannot do this without, it's not like Back to the Future without Michael J. Fox, or Alien without Sigourney Weaver, which I guess is what they already did. They did that, but...
Well, that's the thing, it was because that did well enough in the box office is why they're like, well, let's restart some other things, and... I think what they did, they got the guy who wrote the new reboot of the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Yeah.
He's contracted to write the new Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's not getting any other work besides this Jurassic Park reboot.
Right. Well, what other work do you need?
I'm sure he's not getting. He's not J.J. Abrams, where he has 39 things on his plate and 38 of them fall through the cracks. Because that's the thing. He's usually with writers like that, they get the same 5 writers to try to do all their reboots and all their shit, and unless it's a pet project for them, it usually never gets made.
Yeah, but if somebody came up to you and said, write Jurassic Park 4, and you would be like, well, I'll see if I can get around it.
Well, I'll see if I can get around it. I really do have a busy schedule, so it probably would take me a while.
I would drop everything and just, oh my god, yes, let me do this.
Right, but I mean, that's because you don't yet have a steady job. That's the thing. I do now.
But
so
if writing is your steady job, though.
If someone told me to write Jurassic Park 4, I'd be like, I'll try, but I got a lot of stuff to do.
And they're like, write Jurassic Park 4 and here's $10 million to do it.
I'd be like, I'll get.
Well, I got to keep my day job. That's my bread and butter, but yeah.
You never know if this falls through. Right. I might need to keep uploading videos to YouTube for a living, and not write Jurassic Park 4. That'd actually be pretty interesting, though, if they hired on someone to write Jurassic Park 4. I guess, it would be interesting if some point in the future they get someone who's, a fan screenplay writer, and they just, option a public fan screenplay. You know what I mean?
How they do, contracting for, buildings and stuff like that. Everyone, proposes their plan.
Yeah.
So they just say all right, fans go and make the Jurassic Park 4 screenplay.
Yeah, and then
we'll read them all. We'll read every one of them. And
that would save a lot of money on writers, though. Therefore, you could just be like, all right, it's a $1 million sweepstakes, basically. If you make the best Jurassic Park 4 screenplay, we will option it. We will buy it off of you. You will win the sweepstakes, and then that's basically the script that we, for the most part, will roll with. But of course, we're going to have it rewritten 39 times, and it's going to be totally not, if I were running a studio, I think that at least for one thing, I think that would be
right.
Awesome.
I mean, that sounds like a good idea, but it also sounds like it kind of betrays the whole industry and that Writers Guild and everything.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
You forgot people need that to make a living.
The worst part about America: unions. I guess. Part of that I guess it wouldn't have to be something like Jurassic Park 4, though. Because, I mean, they do, what they did with, Project Greenlight and stuff. They would have Hollywood money behind a movie with people who weren't in the Directors Guild or Writers Guild.
Well, isn't that how Always Sunny got started?
How did that get started?
If I remember correctly, it was more of...
I think they just made it, and then when they wanted to, actually option it and make it, a real show... They had to get everybody who worked on it into a union.
Well, no, FX, if I remember correctly, had it where it's submit your own pilot, and that's how Always Sunny came from it, because they liked that pilot the most. And then, because I remember them talking about, there was an interview about the original pilot and how was it the actress who plays her isn't the same one from the pilot, but But I believe it was through a contest that FX had.
There you go, the way of the future. All Hollywood business decisions should just be contests.
I mean, it wouldn't have to be all that, but if it was like an annual contest, like they had a name for it, and it was like
The blockbuster movie screenplay contest, and the
blockbuster, the Hollywood Video screenplay contest.
The now defunct Hollywood
Video. But like they would keep Hollywood Video, like Hollywood Video, everything. The people who owned Hollywood Video would just sell the naming rights to like Paramount or whoever, and then they would just hold a sweepstakes where it'd be like, whichever is the best screenplay we like for this franchise that we own. So like no one will like. It wouldn't be something that would be the potential like someone could write. Theoretically, the next Star Wars or something, and then that person could then bargain the rights from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would be like, we want, Jurassic Park 4 or Back to the Future 4 or some shit, and then the best screenplay, we will go with that. So therefore, they won't need to spend like $10 million on J.J. Abrams and then have that fall through. You know what I mean? Or like a RoboCop reboot just written by a fan.
Speaking of reboot, has anyone seen the Judge Dredd trailer for the reboot?
No.
It actually looks pretty good.
Wait, it's already been made?
Yep.
Yeah. True. I've seen the trailer up. I just didn't watch it.
Who's in it?
Oh, that's a good question.
No one.
That's a good question.
Good question. So there's a new Judge Dredd movie, which is good because people fawned over the first one.
It was a Total Recall too. Isn't there a new Total Recall?
There's a new Total Recall, but Total Recall was a hit though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Total Recall was like a popular movie, so.
But it was popular because it was like Schwarzenegger, right?
Well, it was a good.
It'd be like remaking Mad Max without what's his face.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Well, which they're doing.
That's true.
I don't know. I mean, I think with the action movies, other than Judge Dredd, you can't go wrong.
Remaking them?
As far as remaking
the Evil Dead
well, I think with
they're doing.
I think with Judge Dredd though, is what they're doing is they're making it so that I think this would have only happened because everyone is just so comic book. Everyone just has a boner for comic books now.
Yeah.
Everyone suddenly is a huge comic book fan. Everyone now is like those like fat guy. Everyone is like that fat guy who knows everything about Spider-Man.
Me?
All of a sudden. No, I mean like everyone is Kevin Smith now, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they're sort of playing into. I don't know. Do you guys think that that's weird? Like
that comic books are so popular now?
In 10 years, like, it's sort of become normal to know about comic books. Now it's more weird for someone like me who knows nothing about comic books.
Yeah.
And just goes, get away from me, spaz. I'm going to watch SportsCenter.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think that's just the shift in the whole internet culture, globalization, and all that now. Because everyone has an outlet for their nerdy thing. It's more common to be nerdy about something than it is to...
Well, yeah.
To think that nerd is something different.
And I guess what's happened is, with the internet, you're able to Wikipedia everything and figure something out. So people who, probably shoved you into lockers in high school now can co-opt.
They just spend a night on Wikipedia and then like, oh, now I get it, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Right, now they can co-opt it and they can be everything that, like... You can be everything to everyone. You can appeal to this sort of person. You can appeal to that sort of person. Like, you can just borrow every part of pop culture and claim it as your own now.
Yeah, and you can feign as though you know all of it just because you read.
Know some of it.
Just because you read the overview.
But there's always been people like that.
Well, yeah. It's now...
I feel like it's way...
I mean, I do that all the time, but...
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like nowadays it's way more common for someone to, not even just with comic books, but with like underground rock. It's so, like it used to be you saw that guy every once in a while walking down the street, and now it seems as though that person is everywhere. We go to a bar last night, and you could talk about Batman probably to everyone there, whereas 10, 15 years ago, that wouldn't be as much the case. And, like, Batman comic books, not like Batman and Robin, which I would be more than happy to talk about. But
I don't know. 10 to 15 years ago, I think still there were people who knew about the comics and were willing to talk about them. Nowadays, there are people who can, quickly look up on their phone like everything about Batman comic books. That doesn't mean everybody wants to talk about them, though. I mean, there are some things that are more traditionally, like, it's cool to talk about, the Batman movies, because everybody's into the Batman movies, clearly, because it made so much money, which then perpetuates it on itself, and then, if it made that much money, that means it's cool, that means I need to learn about it, so more people know about it. But still, there's things that people don't want to get into, and people generally still dislike, like comic books. The stories of comic books, less so, but the actual comic books, if you're debating, Spider-Man versus Spider-Man comic.
I guess that introduces an interesting concept. What is a subculture that is still shunned?
I still don't...
Furries?
Yeah, I was just about to make that point.
That's more like accepted as a joke, though.
Right.
But there's still, like I think fewer people want to talk about comic books in comic book format.
Gosh, man, I don't know, man. At least
people are willing to talk about comic book movies.
What I'm saying is that when I was in middle school, high school, I literally knew nobody who read comic books. Literally nobody, and that includes like older people, family members. I knew nobody. I mean, I also didn't know anyone who was Jewish, so maybe I just was very, and up until like 15, I didn't know anyone who was really black. So maybe I just had a very
just sheltered
childhood. I didn't know minorities or comic book readers or minority comic book readers.
Right.
So
both of them.
But did you know anyone in high school who really was? Yeah, I mean, you knew people who were
black people.
That's not my question, but it could be. No, but did you know
black people?
Yeah, okay. But did you know?
I know a couple black comic book fans too.
Did you know comic book fans? How many comic book fans would you say you knew in 2001?
In 2001, quite a few. My brother was always big into it, and he tried to get me into it. And then because I kind of had this veil of like a comic book fan, the other 3 comic book fans in my high school kind of gravitated towards me.
So 3.
Right.
Now, how many people do you think? I mean, I guess you know more people now. I don't know.
How many furries do I know now?
How many yeah.
I still have never met one that's been open with me and expressed like, hey, Simon, I'm going to sit you down and tell you something about myself.
Yeah.
I like to dress up in mascot outfits. And I'd be like, hell yeah, me too. But then they're like, man, fuck people, honestly. I would love to just wear a mascot outfit if I could afford that.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone knows.
Yeah, for like the first 5 minutes until you're like sweating uncontrollably.
Greg, I hate to put you on the spot, but if you were doing online dating, hypothetically, I'm not going to accuse you of ever at any point in your life doing online dating. If you met a girl who was just the cat's pajamas, just the bee's knees, she was just great and everything was going good. You guys get coffee together and she's funny and she's cool. She dresses in cute outfits and she's just good, holy shit, I could marry this girl. But she was in the furry subculture. Deal breaker or no?
I think it might be a deal breaker.
Interesting. But what if you get into it? Would you be creeped out if you then eventually got into it?
I think I would.
By the way, we're still on topic number 1.
Right. It's all right. I don't know anything about our other topics.
I think if I got more into that culture, I would be more creeped out.
I think
myself.
I'd be creeped out if you got into furry cult. If I just walked in and instead of seeing your fucking guitars laid out in your room, it would just be fucking Pikachu outfits and shit and Barney costumes.
Yeah, it's
actually I don't know. I think I'd still be your friend.
Yeah, but I would be in a different. It's because it's a part of this weird sexual fetish. I feel as though there's a lot of things certain sexual fetishes that I just go, oh, okay. but for some reason I
like
think
feet.
I just don't understand. That's not something that really disgusts me. It just
I think girls' feet are cute sometimes.
yes, but
it never gets me totally aroused.
or like a foot job or something.
I guess it's like if it's ice cream that could be a cherry on top, but I don't want an ice cream that's just all cherries. I think if
cherries are nice.
If you just want, but like I feel like foot fetishists are just people who just like to eat cherries.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it that way.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with any kind of fetishist of any sort.
I don't have
Really?
a problem. I'm just interested.
But I mean, I think the idea.
Who am I kidding? I have a problem with them. I think they're fucking
I think
disgusting.
the problem is when you come down to that guy's a foot fetishist. You think he can only get off with feet. No, it's just somebody who kind of likes feet, and if they can get it, great. I don't think there's a lot of people who can
demand feet. Demand feet.
Only have sex in any way. If you're getting sex, you're not going to say no, not unless your feet are cute, or not unless you're in a Barney costume. And in that sense, do whatever you want. And if you can't get it, as long as you're willing to not be a baby about it and just move on, then it's fine. Who cares if you are into any fetish?
Would you hear this hypothetical furry princess? Because she's your princess now.
Right.
Greg, would you hear this girl out? Would you give her a chance?
I think I would.
Like how this turned into a love line relationship.
That's what we should.
Well, see,
That's what it should have been a sex advice just with Greg. Greg is our only guest.
The main problem that I have with furries is that it almost borders on bestiality. You're not necessarily having sex with animals, but it's still that the concept. You're dressing up as animals.
So are you accusing people who are furries of being on the dark path towards bestiality?
I think that's a little offensive.
Yeah,
I think it's entirely different.
It's
not like a stepping stone.
You sound like
weed versus like
you sound like those pastors who think that homosexuality leads to bestiality.
Right. No, I don't think it leads to that. I just feel that it's
the same kind of mind space.
It's too. You think it's too simple? You think it elicits too much of the same type of imagery?
Exactly, and that's why I would never try it out. Do I feel that people who are furries are disgusting? No. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Do I condemn it? No. Do I myself want to try it? No.
Mm-hmm. I always worry with any sort of subculture, any sort of weird thing like that I would just, if pulled in by the right source, get really into it.
Yeah.
It's like LARPing. There's no way that if I was surrounded by there's no way I have a strong enough personality to avoid the pleasures of LARPing, of anything that is just so twisted. But you can tell the people who are into it just are having a blast.
Well, then, I commend certain people if they can really, with LARPing. I personally, I could never do that because it
too physical.
Well, that yes, I would
You're
rather
asking to be mocked.
You'd much rather just write down your attacks than have to actually act them out.
Exactly.
He's more of a penmanship person.
Right.
Yeah.
He thinks the pen is mightier than the sword.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one problem with LARPing is that even if you try to immerse yourself in LARPing, there's still too many outside forces that just remind you that
It's fucking weird.
Yeah, well, that and it's
just playing the game. It's just like playing Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
you're not it's just like being a furry. You're not convinced you're an animal fucking another animal. You're playing a game. You're just doing it for some fun. You don't go and LARP because you want to live in a fantasy kingdom and you really believe that if you LARP hard enough, you will be, Sir Gregenham of Gregsworth.
Mullinsworth.
Right?
Mullinsworth.
Well, now, if I remember, I did watch a documentary on LARPing, which makes me an expert on the subject.
Right. And this was that movie with, what's his name, and Paul Rudd?
No, not
Role models.
No, it was an actual documentary. It was Dark something.
Carts of Darkness.
Yes, it was Carts of Darkness, actually. The famous director, John Wagner, loaned it to me. And watching about that. And it's...
The John Wagner.
Yes. But... I can't remember where I was going.
We should probably leave the subject of LARPing.
Yeah, but we've talked about Jurassic Park 4 long enough.
Yeah, because most of that segment was all about Jurassic Park 4.
Right.
So
what's our next topic?
I don't know, you're going to need to open up the...
Adele is pregnant. That's one I remember.
Oh, is she actually?
Yeah, apparently.
Brandon knows all about it. I don't know.
I
don't know anything about it. I just saw the headline. And it was like, she's pregnant. I mean... Since we're on the topic of LARPing, since we were on the topic of furries, and clearly we're also experts on pregnancy. Yeah, you also really misspelled Adele's name.
That's whatever. This is just our reference. Nobody would have had to know until you pointed it out.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, everyone who's listening, that Simon really fucked up that spelling. Is it okay if we swear?
I already did, so...
Yeah,
okay.
I think I did already, too.
Alright, cool. Yeah, she's pregnant. Moving on.
Was it with the guy? Like, the famous guy?
My girlfriend knows a guy, knows a person, who every time they hear an Adele song, where it's just like, oh, is this sort of like, how could you do this to me? Shit. They imagine that the male figure is Rip Torn. Which actually makes Adele's music listenable to me. To think of Rip Torn like standing dramatically on a beach, just hearing it and just staring off as she's singing the songs, Which is I think is a good thing to like always sometimes to think about the inspiration behind popular songs and
just always assume it's Rip Torn.
Assuming it's Rip Torn is pretty funny. I mean...
But you could assume it's anybody.
I guess it's... right. Like, do I think Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves is about Rip Torn? I don't think so. But... What it is about? I don't know.
So then you don't know who's Adele's baby's daddy then?
No,
because I thought I had heard that like
I think
the
she's
famous guy, they were like
whore.
she was getting sued by the guy.
She's just a raging whore, I think, so I think she's just like after her album, she's just rolling in dicks. So I mean, I would if I were her.
Yeah.
If I were into rolling in dicks. Not that
which you'd have to be. You'd have to be her.
If I was selling as many records and having as much money just following in, I probably would go crazy and start rolling in dicks. Not like in a gay fashion, but I just have people cut their dicks off and just create a bed for me to roll in.
That's a lot of money.
That costs a lot.
You got to have a lot to get one person. To
commission checks are pretty nice. Like they're like, she's going to be making money for a long time.
But how much does one cut off dick cost in your mind?
This is an interesting question I've never actually thought of. And I'm glad that it's being introduced right now.
Right. I bet with $1 million, you could probably get like 10.
A severed dick
10
on the
dicks.
black market. Let's think about this.
Well, probably if it's on the black market, then it was probably
I guess
taken.
What about if it's on eBay?
Cut them off dead people.
Right.
Or is that just gross? Is that drawing the line?
Well,
it depends on how dead they've been.
Well, the thing is, once you cut off a dick, it is subject to like rigor mortis, and I
always thought it would just like drain out.
What if
like
it's
cutting open a water balloon or something?
Yeah, it's a tough thing to think about, but I guess if anything, the BGS podcast is the time to introduce this.
Well, you know how they keep hearts alive, like to get it pumping beforehand. They have this this mechanical system. So what if they incorporated that on these severed dicks, and you had semi-hard to full mast within this proposed dick bed?
Okay, so you're okay with robot severed penises, but not bestiality. I'm just trying to find where your line is here.
Yeah.
I guess it would depend on the size, like the attractiveness of the dick.
I don't. I think one severed penis is going to cost the same as the next.
I don't know, man. I mean, in order to really keep, I mean, the thing is, it would have to basically all be flaccid. I don't know. I don't know how you get that. But I'm trying to think of.
All right, so we've spent 10 minutes calling you out on your one concept of rolling around a dick.
I'm trying to think of a Scrooge McDuck like
just diving into a swimming pool of dicks.
Yeah.
I think that would have made DuckTales a lot better.
But it would all look like they'd all be shrunk up, I think, and disgusting looking because then they'd all have to be sewed up and shit, like, or there'd just be blood everywhere. But I guess this is the type of thing that multimillionaires have to worry about, not me. Thankfully.
You know, more money, more problems.
More money, more money you get, the more problems you have. Yep.
So you were going to talk about the box office. That's on our list.
Oh yes, the box office. Yes, because we're box office experts.
Yeah.
Well, really, we were just scrambling to figure out what to talk about, not realizing that it'd mostly just be furries and
it's a lifestyle.
severed dicks.
Lifestyle podcast.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle podcast. It's an entertainment podcast. Again, the first entertainment podcast that's ever been recorded. But yeah, the number one movie this weekend. What I also love about podcasts is that they never date themselves.
Yeah. So we should just
make
up next month's number one movie and just hope we're right.
Right. Someone could listen to this 6 months from now and just be like, "Oh gosh, Ted's was number one at the box office. That's still relevant today."
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can listen to something and they can say like, "Oh, Ghost Rider was number one in the box office," and you're like, "Oh, I guess I remember that kind of time frame."
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, Ted is number one. The teddy bear movie,
which Ebert gave 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Nice. Well, I mean, the thing with Seth MacFarlane's comedy is you either love it or hate it, right?
Yeah. Which I believe is Simon. I think.
I have strong opinions on Seth MacFarlane. I don't know if I want to go.
Are you a hate an H letter 8 or number 8 hater?
I'm just regular hater.
A hater
with an AT.
Oh, okay. So you actually spell out hater.
Yeah, that's how much I hate.
Why? Yeah.
No, I don't like Family Guy, but I do like American Dad.
Interesting.
And I feel like there's really kind of two different distinct types of humor they use. They've kind of started to blend together more, which
I think it's interesting.
More than make me.
I think it's interesting to
not make me like a Family Guy.
I think it's interesting to like one but not the other because they are so indistinguishable, in my opinion.
No, I've met a lot of people who agree with me that they are very different.
There's definitely.
In fact, you might be the only person I've met who doesn't agree with me on that.
There's definitely good eras of Family Guy, in my opinion. There's good eras of American Dad, and I'm sure there's a good era of The Cleveland Show, but I've never watched it.
What's your good era of Family Guy? Are you one of those people who loves like the first 2 seasons or whatever?
No.
Because those did not hold up. I think those are shit now.
No, they suck now.
I didn't love them when they started, but
I'm a big fan of the first 3 seasons after it came back from like its first or second cancellation. So this would be like 2006, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. Those seasons of Family Guy. All of those, I think every week there was a good episode on. And the thing with Family Guy is no one really disliked it until the guys from South Park told you to dislike them.
I was disliking it before it was cool.
Maybe you were, but it became sort of overnight, which is what happens when South Park goes at something.
Yeah.
It really happens. It's literally just overnight.
Like Oprah in the beef industry.
They really are. They are like. They really are. They are like Oprah in the fact that they are just huge they are such monumental tastemakers. I'm trying to think of anyone else who I can think of who's like, when they say something, there's a giant segment of the population who that's what they think.
Chappelle?
Yeah, Glenn Beck at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, they decided that they were going to rip Family Guy a new one, and then it became more common to run into people who hated Family Guy because they were sort of instructed by South Park that was low.
So these people whose lives and tastes are dependent or are based off like adult animation.
I'm not saying
Well,
you.
no, I'm just saying. But
I'm not saying you.
Their taste is mainly decided by adult animation. One adult animator program tells them to not like the other one, and then their whole just coin flips. And
because there's still the interpretation with South Park that despite the fact that there's so many shit and dick jokes that it is still like the epitome of American highbrow humor.
Yeah.
I
went through a big.
It is after The Simpsons sort of peaked. It's become the great American comedy show.
Yeah.
And because of that, when they say something,
I think it's the most established of the 18 to 34 demographic shows. Mm-hmm. That's what I think you're saying. Not highbrow. I think that's the wrong.
That's true
word to use.
But it's a type of show that is considered still smart by highbrow. Like it is even by the intelligentsia and by the public. It's considered smart in different ways. Mm. So if they have an opinion on something, for the most part, there's a giant segment of the population that goes, "Yeah, they're right," because they're considered. I mean, I can't think of anyone. Those two are Parker and Stone are pretty much, I think, would be generally considered by America like our best satirists. So,
yeah.
not necessarily best comedians or even best comedy writers or whatever, best TV creators, but I think if you really polled people on the best satirists and you gave them a list of so many people, they would probably top of the list. But I don't know.
It's funny though. Have you seen like that new documentary they had about like them making an episode? And it's literally like they take 5 days and they just fucking scream at each other and just like, what are we gonna do? And then it happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I can imagine that's how it is.
Right. I don't know.
They only work 5 days a week.
Or they have like the first two where they're writing something and then they throw it all out by the third day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like their off season, they like try and plan out episodes, but then by the time they're like gonna do it, they just hate it.
Yeah.
So, they're like us, where they can't sit with anything more than 5 minutes without just disagreeing over it and hating it.
Yeah. And they have the means to make stuff very quickly and turn stuff over very quickly.
Yeah. Although I did have my
mock something that's a few weeks old.
I mean, you're making fun of me for hating on Family Guy, but I did hate on South Park too.
Yeah.
For a while. I mean, I kind of shifted back, and I can enjoy them now. But for a while, they were just doing their thing, and they kept doing it, and it was getting old as hell, and I was getting pissed off about it. Which they did in the Family Guy episode, which was, here's an animal doing something that it doesn't make sense that this thing happens because it's an animal doing it. Which is the Family Guy was written by manatees.
Yes, manatees.
And like that's why, because it's just manatees and they pick balls or whatever. Then there was another one that was like about like head lice, and it was like why head lice are like on Butter's head or something like that. And then the next one was like about sea otters or something like
like Lily Winks the hamster that's in Mr.
right.
Having an animal do something funny.
Just personifying animals, which is like the oldest joke in like kindergarten joke books.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, they do some stuff all right in their comedy.
I didn't realize that was their thing, though. I think you're the only person who's...
But it was like 7 episodes in a row that had personified animals.
Yeah.
And it got old.
You should make up South Park conspiracy theories about why they do that. And make it like it's like a Noah's Ark thing, what they're trying to do.
Okay. They're trying to incorporate every animal in their like
500
episodes.
2 of every animal. Well, I think there was a period though with them, and they still do it, where there's always a message at the end of it that is. I
learned something.
Sometimes it's always really funny, but sometimes it's really heavy-handed and preachy, and but then they kind of make fun of that in that episode as well. So.
Yeah. No, and that's how every time they get caught doing something, they just make fun of themselves, and then they can get away with still doing it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, we've been doing this, but now we're mocking ourselves, and we're doing it sarcastically, but we're still doing it.
Right. Either way, I think
I came into this show
not
hating South Park. You're making me hate South Park.
I think the Family Guy hate. I think the Seth MacFarlane hate is.
Oh, that's right, Ted.
Unnecessary.
That's what we're talking about, Ted.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would see it, Ted, because there was a lot of his humor that I don't like, and certainly I was just talking about the personified whatever.
Mm.
I'm not crazy about that. Brian talking, that's kind of stupid. A little better is Roger talking, because he could, he's an alien, he's not a dog.
Right.
So I don't know about Teddy Bear talking.
Yeah. What do you think, Greg?
I think I would still see it. Maybe if someone's like, "You want to go see it?" I'd be like, "Okay."
If it was this hypothetical girl who was a furry.
Right. So all you listeners out there, they're just hearing Greg's sultry ass voice and going, "Ooh, I want to take him to Ted." He'd probably go.
Yeah.
Bonus points if you are a furry, though.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. But I don't know. I haven't watched any of the Family Guy stuff within the last few years, mainly because I haven't had cable in a while, and because a lot of times I would watch it just on Adult Swim as I was going to bed. I do feel that I started liking American Dad a lot more compared to Family Guy, and I felt like it was just after a while beating a dead horse. With Family Guy. What?
I was laughing because I was thinking of the South Park where Jared's beating the dead horse. That was good. That was a good South Park one.
See, now we like South Park again.
Right.
But I go 50-50 with Seth MacFarlane's humor. Some of it. Well, I believe he doesn't really do much with Family Guy anymore when it comes to...
just voiceover stuff?
Yeah, I think he really is just left it, okay, you do your own thing. And has been focused more on American Dad.
Mm-hmm. And he spends all his time doing, Harvard speeches and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he write Ted or produce Ted or direct it?
He directed it. I think he wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
And he plays the voice of Ted.
Right, I know that.
So, yeah, it looks pretty. It looks funny. I think. I don't know.
I heard it was uproarious. I haven't heard it from a credible source.
I just don't like seeing movies anymore. So
That's true.
I just am not. Excited to go see it.
Certainly, if it's the same kind of humor as Family Guy and American Dad, why would you go pay money when you could just put it on your TV?
Yeah. But I think Family Guy fans don't think that way. So
right, that's what made it come back is that everyone bought the DVDs.
That's true. So yeah, and then number 2 at the box office is the stripper movie Magic Mike.
Now, this is the one that I kind of don't even believe you, and I saw you not research this, so I don't know for sure how informed you are.
Yeah. Well, we can CNN it real quick, but
because I hadn't heard of this movie before,
Oh, you hadn't?
2 weeks ago, maybe. And then suddenly it's here, and then if it's going to be a big blockbuster, I figured there would have been a longer advertising.
It's not going to be a blockbuster. It's
to be number 2 in the box office.
It's just something
there's a Pixar movie out. There's something else.
It's just something that girls and their gay friends go see, and they're like, "Oh my god, boys box!" And then it hits 40 million in its first weekend, and then it just sort of plummets after that.
40 million?
Dude, I'm telling you, CNN that shit. It made a dick ton of money. I promise you.
Where is it? Where's the box office?
I would just go to IMDb.
Does it say that there?
I would just.
This is just great radio, by the way. Just listening to us, how do we find the box office? What's
you
the
can
best way
just
to find the
go to
box
that
office?
Google tab and just go box office this week. We can edit this out.
No, we can't.
Or not. Just Google box office. I was going to get the Wikipedia box office. Here we go. Ted lights up with 54 million. Magic Mike sizzles with 39.2 million.
Ooh, all right, I guess.
Read that up. I don't know if it was actually number 2. Maybe.
40 million you would expect to be number 2.
That's what I would expect. Yes.
Yeah. I did Brave suck?
I don't know.
I still
Because usually, like, it's like its second week, right? Brave just came out?
I believe so, yeah. Just
and it's
came out.
already at third or lower? That sounds awful. Aren't those supposed to make like $200 million each?
It probably had a pretty big first weekend. Let's go down to the numbers. Ooh, and Medea's Witness Protection got
Here we
number
go.
4.
Yeah, Brave was number 3 at $34 million.
Like, all the top 4 movies made, like, really good money. Like,
Yeah, that is more than like
even Medea's Witness Protection would have been number 1
Like,
on a
yeah.
typical week.
3 weeks ago. That would have been
Yeah.
unprecedented,
So, just everyone went to the movies this weekend.
I guess.
I don't know why. And it's probably going to be another...
Pre-4th of July, maybe?
Well, I was thinking probably next weekend would probably be a bigger weekend, though.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would be taking Thursday and Friday off.
But 4th of July is Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's weird. All right, then. Well, there you go. There's our box office. Ted, 54.1. Magic Mike, 39.2. And Brave, 34 even. 4th, Medea, 26.4. And Madagascar 3 at 11.8 in number 5.
Ooh.
There you go.
Oh,
Madagascar 3 is one that I just don't understand. But that apparently was like rocking box office.
Yeah.
Like that's its like 6th or 7th week or something, right?
It's just kids, man.
I guess. I think it's a pretty racist movie. And I haven't seen the second one, or clearly the third one, but the first one, just Chris Rock's just like being such a like Sambo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that like okay to say? I don't know if that's okay to say.
No, it's fine.
I haven't heard someone say Sambo in a very long time.
So it's not okay to say. I'm sorry, my brothers.
So, are we wrapped up, or are we...
Where are we at? We were going for like an hour. We got 45 minutes here.
We have 45 minutes. So
Yeah.
We got 15 minutes to wrap up.
Right. Or 13 minutes.
Ooh. So,
did you want to do the other things? Any of those other things?
talking video games or explaining sports to you?
Yeah.
Well,
or talk about next week's box office, which is Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. Well, doesn't that come out... Oh, yeah, it comes out next weekend. We can talk about next week's box office. Amazing Spider-Man, and how I have no desire to see the Amazing Spider-Man.
Right. Because Brandon and I think Greg, I can't remember anymore, I have just such a fanatical devotion to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man series.
Mostly just Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Mainly Spider-Man 3, which people hate. I still can't, like, just even... Like, oh, I'm just like a stupid hipster. I think Spider-Man 3 is funny. People still give me like looks.
Right. You can't even like. That's one of those.
It's not even cool to ironically
that's one
like
of those
it, but I
things beyond
genuinely
irony.
like
It's
it.
beyond irony to say that you like Spider-Man 3. No one even laughs at that.
Right.
It's like saying you liked Hitler,
Right.
and like where even that.
But if
gets more
Hitler
laughs.
was
If Hitler was that
good.
fucking jazz, if Hitler was that jazz fucking dance sequence,
Right.
like, yeah, I'd love Hitler too.
people just take it too serious, I think.
Right.
And
Like I said
if
earlier,
you look at
about
it,
how people suddenly are just huge comic book, fucking purists.
but the reason they're purist about Spider-Man 3 is because Spider-Man 1 and 2, not because of the Spider-Man comic
we're
books.
so stone-faced and
Right. Well,
just sort of like-
yeah, I don't get that either. They were like good movies, but they weren't like Citizen Kane. I don't know why Sam Raimi doing basically Army of Darkness for the Spider-Man series would like offend that many people.
Well, here's the thing: the first Spider-Man movie I thought was like good, entertaining, and whatever. But Spider-Man 2 I thought was wildly overrated because everyone was like, "This is the best."
It was the most
movie
straight-faced of the
ever,
three.
and it's very straight-faced.
Yeah.
I mean, comparatively, The Dark Knight like kills it as far as being just stone-faced and non-humorous.
Right.
Yeah, they're like the Nolan Batman movies are completely humorless, which is why I like them. But I get mad when people like shit all over the Joel Schumacher movies and the Tim Burton movies because no, those were good. Like, no, those are. It's funny you say that, and it's hilarious to even imply that, but they weren't. It's like no, they were like. The general consensus on those movies, at least up to Batman Forever, was that those were good movies.
So then, is that the formula for like the perfect comic book movie? is that it has to be a stupid comic book story, stupid comic book superhero. Makes no goddamn sense that somebody has powers, but you have to convince everybody that it is like the most dramatic, serious thing. This is the Titanic right here. That Superman is afraid of kryptonite. If you can convince everybody that it's, if you could just make a Holocaust film about like the X-Men, that would be That's the formula for the perfect box office.
If you try to sell The Dark Knight to someone like even 20 years earlier, they'd laugh you out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just sort of like, no, this is mostly just a crime movie. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, that's fucking dumb.
Right.
Right. So, but like nowadays, it's like people shat, like that's what killed the Fantastic Four movies.
That they were not serious enough?
They were too goofy, I think. Or at least that's what I heard. I never watched it.
I saw the first
They weren't that goofy. They were about as goofy as like Spider-Man 1.
Yeah. Spider-Man 1, though, was pretty goofy.
But Tobey Maguire is just so goddamn dreamy.
Is it as goofy as like Superman 2 from like the early 80s? No. Superman 2, there's literally like parts where like the bad guy is killing people, but there's like sight gags. Like, can you imagine there being like sight gags like during a Joker, during like shit with the Joker in Dark Knight Rises? Can you imagine like someone like in a phone booth and it blows over, but he's still talking on the phone? That's what happens in Superman 2.
Yeah.
I watched that, I was like, oh my god. But like that was considered like a really good movie. Like critics were like, that was great. Nowadays they'd be like, what the fuck is that? Like they'd be like, what the hell is that?
Mm.
Right? If there were sight gags during when like a bad guy was like blowing up New York, especially in this post 9/11 world we live in, if there was someone whose just toupee fell off in the middle of like a windstorm or something.
So there you go. That's why everyone hates Spider-Man. And the new one will probably do good because it's all about daddy issues and being serious.
I guess. There's really no stars in the movie, although I guess like Tobey Maguire and
wasn't the guy who's playing Spider-Man? Wasn't he in that Social Network movie?
He was in the Social Network, but still no one really knows who the hell he is.
Okay.
They just know him as that guy from the Social Network who didn't play Mark Zuckerberg.
Sounds like an A-lister to me.
It wasn't Justin Timberlake.
Oh.
Imagine Justin Timberlake as Spider-Man.
Oh my god! I just came.
What would be a good? I guess Captain America would be pretty good as Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake as Captain America. I love Justin Timberlake. I think he could literally do anything he wants, anywhere.
I guess.
If he came up and said, "Hey, I want to be the Hulk," sure. Hey, I want to be Superman. Whatever.
What if he was James Bond?
I would love it.
But James Bond can't be anyone who's not British, or at least that's except for George Lazenby.
I heard they were looking for. I guess it could be British and black, but they're looking for a black next one.
Really?
Black Bond. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to get the guy from The Wire.
Yeah.
Idris Elba.
Trying to get the guy from the British black guy from Garth Marenghi and the.
Oh yeah, Richard Iowata. Yeah, he'd be a really good James Bond.
That's another thing that I hate. I just hate movies in the past 10 years because they've been so serious. James Bond was not supposed to be an action movie.
It's
supposed to be a goofy ass making fun of the '60s kind of movie.
Well,
they lost that. That's why I don't like Daniel Craig.
You're talking like, especially. The Connery ones are silly. Mm-hmm. The Roger Moore ones are hysterical.
Even the Pierce Brosnan
ones are fun. Like
they're
like
fun. They're being serious, but they're being campy, and they're doing it tongue in cheek.
They're not like really like trying to be funny, but they're fun. That's a thing. They're fun movies. Like
Goldeneye.
Right.
But even like the last one he was in, where it just starts off with like a montage of him being in like a POW camp for like 9 months. That was pretty funny.
Wasn't that with Halle Berry?
That might have been a different one. There's 4 Pierce Brosnan ones. Like
the Pierce Brosnan
besides Goldeneye.
Other than Goldeneye, they all blend into Tomorrow Never Knows and
Tomorrow Never Dies. World Is Not Enough. And
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day.
I think there's another one in between there.
No, there was 4 total.
Really?
Goldeneye and those 3.
And those 3, yeah. Those other 3 just blend into the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm really not a big James Bond fan.
I was.
Other than
for a little bit.
other than the Roger Moore era, which I'm not even a big fan, but those are just my favorite movies.
Right. Because he goes into space and there's Jaws, so that's why.
Right. Moonraker's great.
Yeah.
Moonraker's great. Man with the Golden Gun is great.
Yeah.
Actually, Man with the Golden Gun is probably my favorite because that is the stupidest one.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that Connery though?
No.
I'm thinking of Goldfinger.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
but both of those were good.
Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die. Like the Roger Moore movies to me are the best ones because they're silly. But I mean, even like the Die Hard movies, those are like those are really silly movies. You know, the Schwarzenegger movies, those were silly movies. But like action movies nowadays are just very stone faced.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a sign of the economy or something like that. Like, doesn't it all always come back to the economy? Like, that's why there's so many remakes. And
maybe
everything. It's because nobody wants to take chances. That's why comic books are so popular. Is because they can see, well, this percentage of comic book nerds liked this comic book, so if we make it a movie, then the same percentage of movie nerds will like it.
I think that's what killed the Watchmen movie.
Yeah.
Is that
they just expected it to cross over? Or?
They added a lot of silliness to it.
Oh, man.
Which was kind of in the text, but since
I disagree. I think what killed it was not taking any liberties at all with it.
Right. I thought it was too. I agree. It's way too faithful to the original text, which I don't think is necessary. I don't think you have to do that.
I mean, you could easily write around. Clearly people had problems with blue penises. If you had you could take some liberties and write that out.
Right.
Whatever else.
I preferred that.
I liked the soundtrack. The soundtrack was good.
Watchmen had everything, like, it implied everything about that it would be a pretty great movie, but I do think it was too faithful, other than the little thing they changed at the end. Which, if you're going to do that,
that little thing at the end called the plot.
Right.
Yeah. Called the climax.
Right.
And I've never read the originals. I certainly don't give a shit. But it's funny that they didn't change anything except the pivotal thing.
Yeah.
Except the pivotal thing. Everything else they kept. It was like, this is kind of isn't really that necessary.
Right.
I think that is impossible to make in a feature film.
They're making a prequel.
Is it actually going to happen, though?
Yeah, they're like, I don't know if they're in shooting, but they've got a script and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they started making those comic prequels, which I don't even think, like, because it's not written by Alan Moore.
Right.
But it's more so, like, everything that is needed to, like, you need to know about the characters in their past was in Watchmen.
Yeah, they do flashbacks in the movie. I don't know why you would do a prequel. But anyways, 5 minutes.
There's so much. That's the thing with this new comic book America, where
that should be the name of a book.
Everyone decides that doing anything with Watchmen is considered horrifying and bad, even though like most of these people just read Watchmen for the first time 18 months ago.
Well, the main problem is that anything comic based is better as a series, just because it covers so much ground to try to fit, an arc.
I guess it'd be like if someone tomorrow decided we're gonna make a Lost movie, but we're just gonna redo everything that happened on the show in a movie.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much.
You probably would react like, "How the what? That's retarded, right?"
Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of the equivalent. I guess now I get it. It took me an hour. It took me an hour in this podcast, and now I finally understand what those mouth-breathing fucking losers who
like comic books,
like
which I don't think we were ever talking
fucking
about.
Virgins who read comic books and smell like poop. What they were like, what their art is. Now I finally get it. That's what we can title this episode. Brandon learns what's the deal with comic book people. It literally
that was not our topic like an hour ago, though.
I was wondering.
We were talking about comic book culture in America, but we weren't talking about like, oh, why do those comic book nerds hate the movies? That was never a question. I don't think they do.
I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
Okay. Well, I think we're about out of time. Do we want to try and cut it off here, or do we want to like outro? Or
Might as well just go. I have to pee really bad.
Okay.
Like really bad.
Okay. So 30 seconds. Well, thank you all for listening. This is Simon.
This is Brandon.
And this is Greg.